Battle control initialized.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the very first Command & Conquer Combat Comcast. We are your hosts for tonight. My name is Five Aces.
And my name is SoScared. And this is the first episode of a show dedicated to all the fans of the competitive Command & Conquer scene. And today we are going to give you a quick recap of the current OpenRA FFA Tournament elimination rounds.
This tournament is still in progress. The finals are going to be hosted on either the 22nd or the 23rd of August. And SoScared or me will live stream the finals here on YouTube.
The preparations are still going on, but once the time frame has been set, we will publish the link to the stream on both 5S's and my YouTube channel.
With that said, let's talk about the matches. This is a team free-for-all tournament, which completely changes the pace of the game, as all teams have to maintain a healthy dose of paranoia in order not to get stabbed in the back by what seemed to be a peaceful neighbor.
The first match of the day was played on Vegetation and featured some veterans of the competitive community. An all-star cast and a balanced, well-known map were the premises for an exciting game, with the Village Pillagers at 12 o'clock, the developer team Clemley at 3 o'clock, Amphi at 6 o'clock, whose former teammate Magic Hat had bailed out on him, but he had managed to get the German wunderkind Materia as a last-minute replacement.
And match number 1 was already taking off with high speed and low drag as Amphi decided to park his light tank right on top of Raimundo's ore refinery, leaving 3 very aggravated harvester drivers without a lunch break and Raimundo's economy in shambles.
Clem tried to pressure Amphi with a few artilleries, but with no support, they were easy prey for his light tanks. Ripley wanted to avenge his fallen brothers in arms, but ran headfirst into a howitzer barrage.
Seeing as Ripley had lost all of his ground forces, Amphi decided to use this opportunity and drop Special Agent Tanya behind enemy lines to deliver his resignation letter, written on a block of C4. Reinforcements were streaming in from the northern front, just in time to watch the last war factory go up in flames.
Nui, who had been left unchecked for most of the game, was first to expand his mining operations to the middle of the map. His teammate Raimundo had started the Nuclear's arms race and was getting up his trademark role of shock troopers.
The battle for vision was commencing at the eastern front and spelled mutually assured destruction for Nui and Clem. Materia, who decided he'd have none of Raimundo's shock trooper tomfoolery, used mine layers to set up a perimeter around his base.
Almost a dozen heavy tanks had rolled out of the assembly lines before he decided to build a nuke of his own.
Raimundo and Materia were having a grim Mexican standoff, separated by nothing but a vast minefield.
Finally, Team Amphi decided to move their armor columns out, but just as they were killing off the Village Pillagers expansion, they were flanked by Raimundo's forces. A fierce battle ensued, with the shock troopers melting through all the heavy armor, leaving Materia no option but to retreat after some heavy losses.
On the southern front, Agent Tanya was back, this time not taking any prisoners and punching Ripley's ticket.
Raimundo was getting dangerously close to launching his nuke, but Materia managed to suicide a flock of yaks right into the silo just seconds before the launch codes were ready.
Materia was prepared for the counter-strike and got his Iron Curtain up just in time to save his silo from imminent destruction. He retaliated Kim Jong-un style and blew Nui's tech tree to smithereens.
The push was on, and Mammoth tanks started rolling in, supported by Tanya and a mixed group of infantry. And Materia scored extra point in our hearts by having a curtain mine layer deploy a minefield outside Raimundo's last remaining war factory.
The Village Pillagers couldn't sustain the constant base raids and crumbled under the pressure. Shortly thereafter, the remaining half of Team Clemley surrendered, leaving Amphi and Materia to proceed to the finals.
What a fantastic match! Materia's mine layer tactics were nothing short of hilarious, leaving no doubt about who is going to dominate the round.
The Village Pillagers were down for the count, but the tournament rules explicitly allowed teams to enter multiple rounds. Naturally, this was not the last we would see of them, as they made a reappearance in the second round.
Yeah, I was not surprised in the least. What surprised me a bit was though the fact that round 2 had 3 different players with a Rey in the name. Raimundo, Muerto de Rey, Rey de Cupas.
Yeah, the nightmares of live casting. I've gotten them names mixed up countless times. Also, what do you think of the map choice for round 2?
It was a curious choice indeed, but River Madness is really cutthroat map with many choke points that makes it really hard to break a siege.
I agree. But regardless, here's the setup with Team By Damned spawning in at the 10 o'clock position. I think you have to yell their name as it has an exclamation mark. The Village Pillagers at 2 o'clock with a chance to redeem themselves, and Team Champs spawning in the outskirt at the 6 o'clock position. Keep in mind that Spy is actually Chamberlain, another veteran of the scene. Let's roll the footage.
And match number 2 was off for a pretty wild start, with Murto the Ray sending a Flamer APC into Ray de Koopa's base, killing off his refinery. However, Ray had opened the game with 2 refineries and did not get set back at all.
Nui tried to expand out of his pocket of the map and move on to greener pastures, but was immediately greeted by an Iron Curtain-clad welcoming committee and an APC full of shock troopers. Nui managed to hold the line, for now.
Just 2 minutes later, Murto was back, and this time he had brought some friends in the form of a dozen shock troopers. Fortunately, his teammate Raimundo had managed to get his own Iron Curtain up in time, leaving Murto no options but to withdraw for the second time.
During all this time, Ray and Chamberlain had been left unchecked and had time to build up. Ray decided to break the radio silence by parabombing Raimundo's refinery and giving a nice showcase on how not to micro your MiGs.
3 is the magic number. Murto and Sean went for another concerted push, and this time they managed to break through and destroy all of Nui's production capabilities.
Team James started threatening Raimundo's main base, but Nui's Harvester went full-on destruction derby to save the day.
The Village Pillagers were already on the ropes, and 2 nukes onto their base in rapid succession sealed the deal.
Nui managed to get his power back online just in time for one last glorious revenge nuke.
Murto's shock troopers tried to flee from the fallout of Chamberlain's nuke, just to run headfirst into a crashing yak plane and a hail of V2 rockets.
Ray followed up with his nuke and ran his invincible flak trucks into the explosion just for style points.
An Iron Curtain on your enemy's tanks can be really threatening. Team Champs found out a very Russian way to counter this, with 2 Iron Curtains on their own tanks.
Being focused on the offense, Ray forgot about his backlines and let the most heroic paratroopers that Mother Russia had to offer kill off an entire base.
Then things started getting crazy. Muerto had launched a nuke on Chamberlain's nuke, while Sean had managed to sneak Tanya in a phase transport into Ray's domain. On the other side of the map, a paradrop had destroyed Muerto's nuke just after the launch, leaving Sean as the only nuclear power.
In other news, 2 civilians managed to kill off a paradrop with the help of a Tesla coil.
Having control of most of the map, Team Champs decided to open the gates with a paradrop, followed by curtained mammoth tanks.
After being chrono shifted in, one of Sean's artillery pieces decided to stay behind and finish the job.
Muerto desperately tried to produce APCs to crush the shock troopers' blob, but it was too little, too late.
Sean tried to bunker in, but one last nuke sealed the deal.
Only his heroic artillery remained, after having killed an entire base.
The little artillery that could. A touching story, but a bittersweet end for Sean and Murto.
This just goes to show the power that a double Soviet team has in its arsenal.
Yeah, and the Village Pillagers were on the ropes after losing 2 games in a row.
Yeah. Now, the third round was going to be the largest, featuring 5 teams on the Alaska Anarchy Redux, which is a very tight map with lots of open spaces and limited starting resources. The relatively new team, Heimspielblau, was spawning at 2 o'clock, dangerously close to By Damned, and Team Clembley, who both decided to give it another go. The 7 o'clock had positioned with the Heimspielblau, and 12 o'clock we had Barf, who hadn't found a partner in time, so he hired my casting partner 5 Aces as the last minute triumph card for this round. But enough of that, let's dive just straight into the footage.
The third match of the day started at a slower pace, with House Mode taking the initiative by sending an infantry rush to face tank a flame turret.
Can you smell what the rock is cooking? Murto the Ray was turning up the heat by sending a flamethrower squad to take out both of Blackstone's refineries, leaving Team Heimspielblau's economy in dire straits. No APC required.
Gen X saw a window to punish Clem for his fast tech center, but with Ripley's help, Clem swiftly disposed of the insurgents.
On the top side of the map, Five Aces was incurring the wrath of PETA by killing an entire pack of dogs with a single flak truck. Hausmo sent out all of his troops to deal with the threat, but lost his entire army to the suppressive fire. A field promotion was in order.
Near the southern perimeter, Shaw and Clem were entrenched in a heated battle over whose troops were wearing the better shade of green, with neither side emerging victorious.
Five had managed to get some V2 launchers out and lay siege to Hausmo, whose income had been drained by his early game shenanigans. Losing his infantry forces to a single flak truck had taken its toll, making it easy for Five to do a clean sweep and secure Hausmo's resources for himself.
In the game of clones, Shaw had gotten the upper hand thanks to an intervention from his teammate Murto and was starting to threaten Ripley's infrastructure.
Five Aces flak trucks were back, and this time going to town on Blackstone's infantry and earning another ribbon for themselves. With Blackstone not having the income to produce vehicles other than harvesters, they were completely unopposed and managed to take out a second army without any casualties on Five's side.
A Ukrainian care package drop had opened up IT space, but just as Barf was about to push in, Murto's internet connection went haywire, ending in him dropping out of the game after 30 seconds of lag. Unfortunately, this also corrupted the replay, so the rest of the footage was taken from Unit 158's stream.
Game was back on track, with Barf having pushed out Team Heimspielrot, but just as he was about to contest Ripley's base, a nuclear impact forced his army to sound the retreat.
In a moment that was definitely not my finest hour, I incidentally dropped my nuke on Murto, who had already disconnected.
Team Clemley had mobilized a massive strike force, but just as they were about to push into Barf's base, the Ukrainian delivery service struck again, turning the tide of battle and Ripley's army into scrap metal.
Being pincered in between Team Barf and Sean's army, Team Clemley had to pull the plug and raise the white flag.
Having no assets left, Sean followed shortly after, leaving Blackstone as the only player to contest Barf's victory march.
Even paper planes have their uses. A quick airshow secured a decisive victory for Team Barf in a game that would have looked much different if not for the disconnect of Murto.
Very unfortunate that one of the stronger players dropped out of the round, but the tournament rules state that there are no rematches, so Barf moves on to the finals. But he will now have to look for a new teammate, as Five Aces will be livecasting the finals with me.
Yeah, and there is one last match to tackle, and this time the players wanted no experiments, returning to the comforting familiarity of the vegetation map. The village pillagers had disbanded, but just like Rocky Balboa, knew he wasn't down and out yet. He had joined Blaze to form the notorious Blazers, spawning in at 2 o'clock. His opponents were Fast Slack and Barf, who had gotten a taste of victory and decided that he liked the taste. The third team in the mix were NRO and High, spawning at 8 o'clock. Let's roll the footage.
And the last match of the day saw Team NRO fall out of favor with the internet gods, as High disconnected only 2 minutes into the game. Barf, being the resourceful man that he is, decided to send some engineers over as prospectors to claim High's base for himself.
In the meantime, Slack was attempting to set up a barbecue at Newey's construction yard, but Newey simply packed up his MCV and rode into the sunset.
NRO, seeing that the odds were stacked against him, decided to call it.
After an exhausting escape through the wastelands, the driver of Newey's MCV decided to set up shop at NRO's former base. However, Barf's raiding party had just waited for that moment and made quick work of the expansion. There was no happy ending this time.
Having attained High's construction yard, Barf had gained access to both German and Soviet technology, leaving him with the potential to become the second best James Bond villain after Dr. No.
The Blazers showed us that persistence prevails by setting up another expansion in NRO's base, this time protected by a rapid response team.
Newey sent an airstrike onto Dr. Barf's headquarters to put a dent in his plans for world domination.
Meanwhile, droves of his harvesters had started migrating to the middle.
A single heroic yak managed to score the killing blow on Fast Slack's nuke silo, putting another damper on Team Barf's strategy of Scorched Earth.
The Blazers were living up to their name, using every single support power at their disposal to set Fast Slack's base ablaze. Iron Curtains, Chrono Shifts and Airstrikes were pummeling him into submission, leaving him no option but to call the GG. That's it for today. We will be back with the finals. Will Amphi and Materia continue asserting dominance, or will they be shut down by Team James? Can Barf find a teammate in time, and how will the Blazers deal with the pressure? If you're as keen on some high-quality Command & Conquer as we are, tune in live next Saturday or Sunday evening. We will publish the links once the time is set. For now, consider checking out SoScared stream on Twitch.
This show is going to be back with the next competitive event, so in the meantime, you can check out me and 5Ace's channels. They are both dedicated to CNC shoutcasts, so until then, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you for tuning in to the very first Command & Conquer Combat Comcast, and good night, Internet.
Battle control terminated.